Seattle Seahawks Pro Bowl wide receiver DK Metcalf has officially requested a trade, and a lot of Ravens fans on Twitter and in the YouTube comment section have been saying that's the wide receiver the Ravens should get. So, DK Metcalf to the Ravens, let's talk about it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to TTB Ravens Media, bringing you Ravens content every single day. It is the offseason. Mock Draft Monday came out on Monday. Today's video, I'm talking about DK Metcalf. I will probably put out a Davante Adams video in the coming days as well because he was also released. But I feel like DK Metcalf is more of a realistic one, and he's been someone that we've talked about across this channel, across, just Twitter spaces and everything like that for so long, and he's finally requested that trade. And if you don't know much about DK Metcalf, he's a big wide receiver, 6'4", freak athlete, kind of a deep threat, good for about 1,000 yards a year. Last year he had 992, but touchdown guy, deep threat guy, very difficult to tackle. And that's kind of something that Ravens fans have been looking for, right? We want a bigger wide receiver. We want a guy with speed that can take the top off the defense. We want somebody that's physical. DK Metcalf brings all of those things to the table. And he's not under contract for a ridiculous amount of time, right? When you look at, when the Ravens fans, when we're asking for, we just have to go out there and we have to get, this star wide receiver, whether it's Davante Adams, right? We talked about that, like, we have to trade for him, and he has 5 more years. This is the last year on DK Metcalf's deal. Now he does have void years on that deal. So it's like a $2 million cap hit next, or $7 million cap hit next year, and then nothing after the fact. But $31 million cap hit this year. That's the big thing that we have to look at first. Now, that can absolutely be mitigated with a contract restructure or a contract extension. That's the big thing, right? DK Metcalf wanted to trade out of Seattle because he wants to sign that extension and play with a new team. So, one, that gives him saying where he wants to go. DK Metcalf isn't going to go to a team he doesn't want to play for, which means he probably wants to get paid and he probably wants to, play for a contender. That's usually what wide receivers want. The other thing is he's going to want the ball. When I look at the Ravens, they fit some of those categories, right? They technically have the money. They could pay DK Metcalf a good contract. They would have to give up other things, right? They would have to give up, potentially offensive line. They would have to give up, maybe extending either Linderbaum or Hamilton. It just depends, right, on how this contract is structured, because it could still have a really small cap hit this year, but in 3 years, that's when the big cap hit is. Just depends on how you want to negotiate that contract, how much you want to do in terms of bonuses and things like that. But it wouldn't be impossible for the Ravens to give him the contract he wanted. But it would, come with a lot of cost for the Ravens. The other thing is contender. Will the Ravens be a contender? Yes, that is very clear. I think that, brings something to the Ravens. The other thing, will he get the ball? Lamar Jackson was a 4,000-yard passer this year. So there is definitely potential for him to be, once again, a 1,000-yard receiver with the Baltimore Ravens. Now, when I look at DK Metcalf and his play style, DK Metcalf honestly frustrates me because DK Metcalf, I think, should be better. I feel like he doesn't play as big as he should. It feels like sometimes he just gets sucked into that, like he tries to be more of a speed player when if he wanted to, he could be just as good of a strength and power player as a guy like A.J. Brown, who he was teammates with at Ole Miss. But A.J. Brown is smaller than DK. But A.J. Brown plays much bigger than DK. DK, I feel like, just shrinks himself as a speed guy, and that limits him. Now, maybe that's coaching, maybe that's style. That's something that frustrates me with a little. That's not something that's going to make me say, hey, I don't want DK Metcalf. I think DK Metcalf is a phenomenal wide receiver in the NFL right now. My issue that I have with DK Metcalf is he is a big-time diva. And this isn't Odell Beckham Jr. coming to the Ravens when he's 30 years old, coming off of multiple injuries. And it's like, yeah, he's a former diva. DK Metcalf is an absolute diva. He has thrown multiple, fits on the sideline. He's screamed at his coaches. Plenty of times he screamed at Pete Carroll all the time. Like, if he wasn't getting the ball, he was pissed. Didn't matter whether or not the Seahawks were winning. And when I look at the Baltimore Ravens, I could absolutely see him getting really pissed off because the Ravens have pass catchers, right? They're going to go to other players. And really what they want to do is they want to run the football, right? So when you're looking at the Ravens and, hey, what does DK Metcalf bring? Yes, he's a deep threat. Seattle throws way more deep balls than the Ravens do because their system offensively, for most of DK Metcalf's career, they have had different offensive coordinators and such. But most of the right, it's hard play action, deep shots. Like they tried to extend the field with Lockett, with DK, even with JSN in recent years. They're trying to get the ball downfield. That's not the Ravens style. They want to go intermediate. They want to go short. They want to go screens. They want to hand the ball off. They want to chew clock. They don't necessarily need the 80-yard touchdown when they can chew 8 minutes of clock and know they can get a score with Derrick Henry rushing it in. So I feel like DK Metcalf, play style wise, does fit, but I don't know if mentally this is the right situation for him. Because if we get into a game against the Kansas City Chiefs in the postseason, the Buffalo Bills in the postseason, right? And our game plan is we're going to pound the rock with Derrick Henry, and DK Metcalf has one target in the first half, but we're doing good. Like, there's a chance he's still pissed and he's not going to go out onto the field, right? We can't have that in a wide receiver we are paying $20 million a year. That's not the type of attitude we need, right? We got rid of Hollywood Brown because he was getting frustrated, and rightfully so. He wasn't being utilized properly. But DK Metcalf is a better wide receiver than Hollywood was. The problem is he's a much bigger diva. He might be the biggest diva wide receiver in the NFL, and I feel like he needs to go to a situation where he's the guy, right? Where he is going to get all the targets, all the deep shots. They want to be an air raid offense. They want to throw the ball, extend the field. That's just not the Ravens. So as good of a player I think DK Metcalf is, as, talented as, he can be, I don't think this is the right situation for him. Even on a small contract. Like, even if we got a ridiculous contract for him and we were paying him $10 million, I don't think it would be worth it. Because I honestly think that sort of mentality that he brings does not fly with this organization and with this team, right? Zay Flowers is not a diva. He is very willing to take a back seat in certain games, but even he gets frustrated, right? Even he's had times where he tweets out and he's like, yo, like, I had 100 yards receiving the first half, like, and we couldn't give me the ball? Like, this is ridiculous. But at least Zay does it after the game. DK will be screaming at his coach mid-game, yelling at them on the sidelines. John Harbaugh's not gonna tolerate that. Lamar Jackson's not going to tolerate his wide receiver coming up to him and just screaming at him, especially if the drive was, we just handed it off to Derrick Henry 9 times on that drive and we scored, right? That's not what the Ravens want to do with their wide receivers. I don't think DK is the right fit. I will give a sneak peek. I like Davante Adams a lot more as a fit for the Baltimore Ravens. I'll talk about that in my next video, probably tomorrow, or it'll come out on Friday. Let me know in the comment section down below, though. Do you think DK Metcalf, trading for him, is the right move for the Baltimore Ravens this offseason? Thank you all so much for watching. Subscribe for more, and I'll see all of you again next time.